Hi friends, it's Carly and I'm back again with another review. So thank you all so much for participating in my first live stream toy haul. It was such a fun night. I got lots of great feedback from you. I'm gonna have better tech next time so there won't be any microphone issues, and we're just gonna keep going with it because it was such a great time. But right after that, I announced, my new schedule and everything and prepared you guys for what was to come, and then I found cable and a couple of other really great things as well, and I had to do my video out of sequence. So I had to do that video on Saturday, and then I don't work on Sundays. That threw me off. So now everything is just a little bit wacky, but we're just gonna forge ahead because the number one thing that I got from all of you in the comments of that last video was that you're ready to see Joes. Now, originally I wasn't doing Joes because I couldn't get my hands on them. And that was because I was sort of following the chatter about these 6-inch figures coming out. A lot of people were classic collectors and 375 loyalists and have been collecting since the beginning of G.I. Joe forever. These are loyal, storied fandoms with really educated consumers participating in them, and a lot of those people just frankly weren't excited about the 6-inch G.I. Joe classified series. So out of respect for that, I knew that I was going to cover them, but I didn't know how hard I wanted to go because there was a chance that they could have been a total flop. So we've seen that they were not a flop in any sense of the word, and quite frankly my biggest regret was having seen initially, I saw Snake Eyes, Scarlett, and Duke on the shelf at Walmart. At the time, I didn't know what I wanted to invest in the series, so I only picked up Snake Eyes. I was so glad that I got a chance to do that review, but my biggest regret is that I didn't pre-order these figures. I'm not going to make that mistake again, and for anybody who is interested, all of these figures in the first series, so Roadblock, Destro, Scarlett, Snake Eyes, and Duke, are all available for pre-order on BBTS right now, and they will be delivering, I believe, in August. So if you haven't got all of those figures, if you're still hunting and pecking, if you missed all of them, finding them on the shelves was really tough, head over to BBTS. I'm going to throw a link down in the description and you guys can pre-order them and get them later this month. All of that said, we're going to go through the Joes that I actually have in hand. I've got some on the way, I've got some in front of me, and we are going to tackle those because you guys seemed really interested. So today I'm going to be looking at 2 figures, which is something I don't do often, but I really want to talk about how close these came out together and sort of the expectations and whether or not they were met. So today we are going to be looking at Roadblock. This is from the first series. And then we're going to be looking at the Cobra Island Roadblock. So here are both of these figures. Sorry, I didn't get focused there. Side by side. And then we can see both of them here. There we go. Okay, so the main thing that I want to talk about with these 2 figures, we're going to go over the points of articulation and everything, which you guys know I feel like these are some of the best constructed Hasbro toys we've seen in a long time, and I was super excited with Cable to see some of this technology being brought forward to Marvel Legends, which is obviously my favorite of their brands. But when I see a new series come out and it hits as hard as G.I. Joe Classified did, and then we start to see alternate versions of the same characters coming out so soon after that, it's really important for me to see meaningful distinction between those 2 figures. I really hate to see something so awesome and so well done, in my opinion, that has actually converted some people who were like, I'll never buy a 6-inch Joe. They're into these figures now, maybe not, certainly not as a replacement for the classics, but willing to give them a shot because they are excellent. I hate to see what feels like a cash grab, where we're just like throwing out Joes now like crazy. And so I want to look at all of the elements of the first Roadblock and his re-release or his Cobra Island version and see if we feel like it really was worthwhile to have that on the shelf so soon, or if this is maybe a little bit too much too soon for this series. So here we go. We are taking a look at the first version of Roadblock to hit the shelves, and this was after I got my Snake Eyes. This was the first figure that I was able to get my hands on at Walmart when I realized that Joes were going to be hot after I really got to mess around with Snake Eyes, and then people really started to get hold of this series. So I've had him for a little while, and I've had a lot of time to look at and play with him. And, you know, I hate to say that there isn't a whole lot to say about him, but it's kind of true in a positive way, because he's really just sort of perfectly put together. We have all of these fantastic, really functional points of articulation that I talked about with Snake Eyes. He moves really well. I'm going to be going over all of them, but we're going to sort of fly through so that we can look at both figures. So all of the points of articulation that we saw on Snake Eyes are here. They're functional. They work. We have great isolation in the joints. I was actually really talking about that with Cable, but we have them here. We have accessories that work. So his accessory is probably one of the biggest deals about this figure. I do want to point out that Roadblock has a knife in his sheath that pulls out, and it works. So if you have the Snake Eyes, his knife did not fit into the sheath. That was the only thing about that figure that didn't work for me. This knife does. I'm finding that a lot of people are just altering the Snake Eyes knife with an X-Acto knife, but that isn't something that happened with the whole series. So we've got this great little knife that works. And then he's got this massive weapon. It's huge. So in this first package of Roadblock, this magazine is packed as a separate accessory. We'll see in the Cobra Island version that it's actually in the weapon already, and his accessory is a pair of sunglasses, which was kind of a strange move. I point that out because when we're talking about meaningful change, that seems a little bit weird. We didn't really get anything extra with the Cobra Island version of this character. So let's look at his overall sculpt and appearance. I really like this facial sculpt, although there is such a blend of versions of this character that he's recognizable in his design overall, but the face might not necessarily be what you would come to expect from a Roadblock. Like, I feel like I would kind of expect my Roadblock to always have sunglasses. There is something just sort of a little bit, to me, he's blended, he looks great. So the sculpt is great, but I'm not 100% sure that it reads Roadblock to me on his own. That said, with his costume, his weapons, and this being a reimagining of this line, I am really happy with the way that he looks. So I don't want to dog on it too much. I'm not like saying that there's anything wrong with it specifically, but does it read perfectly? Not necessarily, just on first glance for me. His tattoo is really, really cool, and it's obviously the same on the Cobra Island figure. His vinyl vest does not come off, but it does have this knife sheath and knife that fit perfectly. Those were not packaged separately. That's meaningful to get to some points I'll talk about a little bit later. He does have great articulation in the wrists, forward and back. I really prefer that movement, but sometimes in the case of, we saw this with Cable, the hands go side to side, and that's so that they can hold a large weapon. I have messed with and manipulated this weapon a lot, and you can get him to hold it. I'm not going to show that, but it's awkward. It's a really awkward pose, and it's not as easy as I feel like it should be. Maybe I can show it. I'm not going to. There is a peg in his back, which I know is for a stand, but I really would have liked a peg hole. I really would have liked to see a peg on this weapon so that we could have something like this and a strap. I think that would have made a lot of sense. But he can hold it. You can manipulate it so that he can hold it. And because of his excellent articulation, you can get a really nice wide stance and, manipulate his torso so that he can hold it and stand in place. So that's really good. So moving on down the waist, we looked at the arms. He's got a nice bow forward. He's got a nice bend backward. We've got 360 degrees in the waist. And the flexibility that I was talking about before. So this is the kind of flexibility that we saw on Snake Eyes. That is really, really excellent. We've got great turning in the hips. We've got a nice isolating knee and thigh bend that work really well, or knee bend. Even though he's got big thighs and calves, this still works really well. We've got the turn in the boot and the nice flexible, really manipulatable ankle. So both figures are going to have the same points of articulation. So what are the differences? Why are we getting two so close together? I mean, Cobra Island was coming anyway, so that's fine. But seeing these come out so closely and comparing the two figures side by side, sorry, I'm going to get focused real quick. So what are the main differences? We have a larger, bushier beard here, a do-rag, sunglasses that are removable, and he's got a little radio over here. Obviously, the costume is different. He does not have a vinyl vest. This is all painted on. The color of the pants are different. He's got a thigh holster for some, it looks like grenades there. Black boots, and not the gold that we have on the first series of accessories with the shin guards and the knee pads and the elbow pads that are gold that we see on Duke, Scarlett, and Roadblock here. So really the main difference that I'm seeing, any of these items could have been, oh, he's also got a wrist guard here with a, it looks like some weapons like sculpted onto it, or maybe a radio. Any of these accessories could have been on this figure. Does that make this a bad figure? Not really. Do we need this figure? Not really. I don't think it gives us a meaningful contribution to the collection. And when the collection was sort of like up in the air with the fandom, at least, like, is this going to be good or is it not? Do we want it? Do we not? I really feel like they need to make meaningful, smart decisions about the things that they're releasing in these lines, because it's not going to take anything at all for people to get so critical that they just turn off completely. And I think when you start throwing things out into the marketplace for something that is lucky to have kind of hit the way that it did, not because of craftsmanship, which is excellent, or design, which is fantastic, but simply because of a dedicated, loyal fandom who didn't think that they wanted these, then the things that you contribute to that line need to be meaningful, they need to be respectful to the audience, and they need to provide changes that are worth having, that make them interesting and different. In this case, I just don't think that we have that. Do I like both of these figures? Yes. Somebody commented, and ever since they did, when I shared a picture of these, I've not been able to unsee it, that Cobra Island Roadblock really looks like Kimbo Slice. And I was such a huge Kimbo Slice fan when he was all over the internet, just like fighting. I actually have his action figure that he released, and now that I've seen that or said that, somebody said that, I cannot stop seeing Kimbo. So that is kind of a reason for me to really like him, because he reminds me of, you know, somebody that I like a lot. But, you know, when we're looking at a figure for a character this similar, it is the same facial sculpt exactly. They only added the beard and the do-rag and this radio here. That's the only difference. The tattoos are obviously going to be the same. They use the same body. They removed the vinyl vest. Like it's just too on the nose for me for this to be necessary quite yet. I think it would be cool, since these went over, if these were waiting as like a 1 year, hey, G.I. Joe Classified was amazing and we're super stoked that it worked out so well, so here's some awesome reissues of the figures that you love the most. Great idea. Side by side within months of one another, not. It just feels a little bit too cash grabby for me. And I'll go ahead and show that the weapons are exactly the same, just in different colors. The magazine pulls out. On the first Roadblock, the magazine was packed separately as an accessory. On the second Roadblock, although it is the exact same thing and it does pull out in the same way, it was packaged in the weapon. So while this weapon is super, super impressive, oh, there is on the side of this one, it says broiler. So that's just like painted on there. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's a really cool weapon, but again, I would have liked to see a different accessory with them. We've got all of the same outstanding points of articulation that we want to see, that we came to see, but there isn't enough different about this figure for me to feel like he's just quite warranted yet. And that's not a criticism I usually have, a criticism about the cash grab, but I think that it is very important for Hasbro to continue to respect the Joe community the way that they started off trying to do it. And I don't feel, while he's a good figure and a good looking figure, I don't feel that the Cobra Island version of Roadblock does that. The first version is great, but it's too soon to have an alternate version of him, in my opinion. So as I was going through the articulation just now, I'm sure you noticed that this harness here, this thigh like garter, will hinder the range of motion in his leg. It's not that big a deal because we don't really turn the leg inward, but if we're looking at 360, it does hinder it. Everything else on this is beautiful. I love the articulate points on this series. They are standard, like I've been asking for, which is fantastic. But for me, although they are both beautiful figures and I'm glad to have them in my collection, the Cobra Island is just a little bit too little too soon. I think they need to wait and really consider how they're doing these reissues and these upgrades and make meaningful changes to them so that they are worth having in your collection. That said, I do have both versions of Destro on the way, so we'll see if that crazy gold pimped out Destro is worth having so soon near the regular Destro, which looks awesome and is also in the mail on the way to me. So that is that. Those are my thoughts on Roadblock. This time it's a little bit less about the actual design and the actual functionality of the articulation, because we already know that those are fantastic, and more about, do we need this right now? And for me, it's kind of a no, but at the same time, they're both excellent figures that I'm happy to have in my collection. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm having so much fun doing reviews for you. I have got more Joes coming up. I will be doing either Duke or Scarlett next. You guys let me know in the comments which one you prefer, and I will do that. We will have our next review on Friday, and we will be continuing on our schedule as best we can. I want you guys to know what the schedule intention always is. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for toys, Tuesdays and Thursdays for comics. But, you know, life happens, we're all working, it's a crazy time in the world, so please make sure that your notification bells are turned on so that you never miss anything that I do, and I will keep going and keep providing you with the videos that you guys like. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back again on Friday with another one. Have a great day, friends. Bye!